It is Tuesday night, October 24th, 2023. The bye week is over for the Purdue football team, and the bye week is over for the Boiler Breakdown podcast. As we weren't planning to take a bye last week, but
But things happen.
thing called life gets in the
Yeah.
way sometimes. We get busy and just can't make a pod happen. And let's be honest, we didn't really want to go in depth on Purdue's 41-7 loss to Ohio State. It's pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Pretty ugly.
Not a whole lot went well for Purdue.
Mockbee had over 100 yards. That was about the only bright
about
spot.
Well,
The only guy to do so against Ohio State. But Marvin Harrison Jr., that guy's pretty good, eh?
yeah, he might have a future in this whole football thing. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh,
See
my
what pans
gosh.
out.
I was trying to think the other day, we've seen better receiving performances from an opposing wide receiver in Ross-Ade, but he might be the most skilled wide receiver we've ever seen in Ross-Ade.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Like, I'm trying to even just like other players. I know obviously we've been pretty lucky to see. I haven't gone to games since we were kids, so we've been able to see some pretty talented people. And I've been trying to think of who some maybe the all-time people that we've seen play in Ross-Ade, and I cannot think of a single one.
I could think of like
I
Troy
mean, Kyle
Smith,
Rudolph is probably Troy Smith. Yeah, Kyle Rudolph.
Heisman Trophy, but Ted
Yeah.
Ginn. I mean,
Did we see Zeke? I'm trying to think if we would have seen him.
yeah, I think he was on that Hazel team
Oh, yeah.
against that Hazel team. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan, Ohio State have had tons.
Right. Yes. Usually
Chad
it was them,
Henne,
Ohio
Mike
State.
Hart.
Yeah. Or Notre Dame usually were the people that
Yep.
the occasional Penn State, if we play them at home.
J.J. Watt, Wisconsin. He
Yeah.
was pretty good. But no, yeah, you're right. Big Time Boiler said needed that bye week in the worst way, and luckily Nebraska's more wounded than we are. Yeah, they have a lot of wounded guys on the offensive line heading into this week. So, and he also said Fresno State wide receiver week 1. Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head either, but he had a good week 1 against us. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was putting it kindly, but yeah, disappointing. Cameron Day stopping by on Facebook just to add his comment about Cam Allen. So it's a new weekly segment on the pod.
Yeah. Cam on Cam. Cam
Yeah.
on Cam hate.
Yeah, that's
Cam
all
Allen
right.
did not have a good game. To putting it nicely.
Not too many people did.
No.
Like I said, Mockabee was about the only bright spot. I really thought Purdue could make it competitive, and like my bold, spicy prediction was they'd be tied or had to have a lead at half. We were down 20 at half, and then just things did not get better in the second half. And man, I came out of that game, and I know Free Hill's supposed to be back, our starting kicker, but I am worried about the kicking game. 3 for 9 for field goals on the season is not ideal whatsoever.
No. And then we missed the first one. I can't remember how long it was. It was on our. We couldn't tell. Like from our, it looked like in the replay, it looked like he missed it pretty badly. Because as soon as he kicked it, the Ohio State fans in the north end zone, they were going crazy. So that's what we knew it was. It was bad. I don't remember saying, but it was the third kick, kind of near the end of the first half, where he doinked it off the ball, crossbar. I was just like, good God, this cannot get much worse.
Well, and the poor kid, they pulled him when we did finally score a touchdown and brought the guy who does. I can't remember either player's name off the top of my head without looking it up.
Macias, I think, is the guy who
is the
pulled.
and then the
which I mean, it's is he a true freshman or a redshirt or like a walk on?
He's a walk on.
The conditions were horrible.
They were not good.
They were not good, but still, I mean, what do you mean? You got to do it. So, but yeah, it was.
Yep.
I mean, you wonder if that, because that's what sucked is that drive. Like our first drive, we were, Purdue was rolling down. They got really past probably to the other 40 pretty easily, and then kind of stalled out against the Ohio State defense, and then we missed the kick, and it just felt so deflating. Just because, I don't know if that field goal would have really changed the game. It definitely wouldn't have hurt. That's for sure.
Cameron Dale Facebook. Do you think Harbaugh sent his spy to the OSU Purdue game to prepare for Purdue?
He wouldn't subject him to those terrible locker rooms. I'm not sure he would do that.
That is true. That is true. But I saw another report this afternoon. It was just before I had the fortune this evening to jump on the Voice of College Football tonight with Mark Rogers to talk with some Nebraska guys about the upcoming game. So go check that out on YouTube when you have some time. Thanks again to them for having me. But so I wasn't able to really look into this tweet, but I saw a report that Harbaugh also sent this guy to, I think it was Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, some other schools outside the Big Ten.
Interesting. It's just
So,
like a prep, just like for the football playoff,
yep,
obviously.
yep. So,
Interesting. Well, don't worry about
yeah.
Tennessee anymore.
No, thank goodness. Big Time Boiler on YouTube saying kicking game is going to be super important in the next 4 games. Fans Michigan Free Hill, I
Why you
think,
say that?
is at least decent. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I'll save my score prediction for later, but the score
yeah.
prediction I gave on the podcast I just did included us making a field goal in my score. So, and the host of the podcast picked Nebraska to beat us by 2, and we miss a game-winning field goal. I told my heart can't take it.
Yeah, I mean, really, outside of Michigan, which is probably gonna be probably just might as well just copy and paste the Ohio State game more than likely.
7:30 NBC, baby. Let's go.
Prime time. Story one.
Shock the world.
Yeah, I mean, all those games, I mean, they're kind of, at this point, kind of toss-ups, between Nebraska, Minnesota, Northwestern, Indiana. As of right now, you could say each one. I mean, obviously, Purdue will be favored in a few of those, but, like, kicking will come down, or it will come down to kicking, and I would not be surprised if you put the over-under 2.5 for the 4 games, I'll bet.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's why I titled this podcast tonight, biggest game of the Ryan Walters era. And I know it's only the 8th game, but yeah, it's playoff time. You got to win 4 of the last 5, and that starts with this weekend.
One of those
because
is Michigan.
I'm throwing that one out. So you got to win your other 4. You got to be at Nebraska, Minnesota home, at Northwestern, Indiana home. You got to get them all, and they look gettable. I know Minnesota just won at Iowa, something we didn't do. But
they were handed.
They were absolutely handed. I do not know what that referee. What made me mad about that was, okay, he was doing this, which is the Peter call for everybody to get away from the ball. He wasn't doing this over his head.
He didn't run above his shoulder.
And even if he did, they were reviewing it to see if he stepped out.
Right. I didn't realize
and then they overturn everything. That's messed up.
Yeah.
So, but granted, Iowa's inability to score finally caught up with them. But I'm not a PJ Fleck fan either. So,
no.
But no, the West is the West. It's the last year of it, so let's enjoy it while we can, right? But no, looking at this, do you have any other thoughts on the Ohio State game before we go right into Nebraska?
I mean, I as long as Ryan Day's at Ohio State, I feel like that's going to be pretty typical of a Ohio State Purdue game, just because I feel like Ryan Day, he's not the arrogance of a I'm blanking, Urban Meyer. Like, I feel like he's definitely one of those guys who is not going to let a team like Purdue sneak up on them, no matter who they're playing the next week. Which we were hoping they would overlook us to play Penn State, and they proved me wrong. I thought Penn State was going to win, and boy, I
did too. I thought I predicted Penn State to win the East this year. At one time, I called them best team in the country. They did what they always do in a Big Ten game. They laid an egg.
Yep. We'll enjoy the 2018 game forever. But I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen for a while, just because I think Ryan Day is really locked in as a coach and has them locked in, and just flush it. It was just. I don't think if we had any injuries in that. I don't think we had any really.
We had a backup offensive lineman go down with a
right away. I forgot.
I think a broken. It was his first play of the game. He's the Missouri transfer.
But it was nice to see Mockingbee hit 100. At least it was the one bright spot. But just hopefully, the bye week came at the most opportune time, I think.
It did get some guys healthy that are nicked up, and it sounded like, according to Walters, that happened. He thought Hudson looked as fresh as he has since the first quarter of the Illinois game. Tyron Tracy should be back this week. Free Hill, like we said, should be back. I'm hoping. I am struggling with names tonight, Evan, so you're gonna have to help me. I'm hoping the Stanford corner transfer, Muhammad Turner, right, or Turner Muhammad.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he finally plays this week. We haven't seen him all year because we just need more depth back there. But another bright spot of the Ohio State game, Mershawn Rice. 3 receptions for 50 yards. And Walter said that was just a combo of getting him involved in the mix, some things they've seen him practice lately. He didn't say it was due to him getting healthy, but I still think he's been banged up a little bit because he has been his whole career. And Garrett Miller's starting to come round into form, I feel like, too. I think his knee's finally starting to get to where it needs to be. So, but yeah, bye week came at the perfect time, not only for Purdue to readjust after that shellacking, but also get healthy in 2 weeks to prepare for a team like Nebraska is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. And I completely overlooked the whole Walters played at Colorado Nebraska rivalry because I saw that they were talking about it this week, and I was like, why does he hate Nebraska? I was like, oh, I completely forgot he played at Colorado when they were in the Big 12 together, and they absolutely despised each other. So that's
and grew up a Colorado fan because his dad played there. So
Yep.
yeah, he's So I think he kind of. It was amazing to hear him talk about it because he kind of put more juice on this than he did the Illinois game. So it got me fired up and ready to go. And speaking of Nebraska, Purdue leads the all-time series 6-5. And Purdue's won 4 of the last 5 against Nebraska, including the last 2 in Lincoln, which those trips were 2021 and 2018. Ever since Nebraska joined the Big Ten, games have gone as followed. 2013, they came to Ross-Ade and beat a Darrell Hazel team 44-7. Then the following year, out in Lincoln beat Darrell Hazel 35-14. Then 2015, Darrell got one of his 9 wins against the Cornhuskers, 55-45 against a 6th-string quarterback.
It was like what? It was like 55 to 20 at one point.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Oh man.
Then Jared Parker was the interim head coach in the trip to Lincoln, and Purdue fought pretty hard but lost 27-14. Then in 2017, Jeff Brom and the Nick Holt defense broke at the end. It was a heartbreaking loss by the Boilers, 25-24. A Nebraska quarterback named Tanner Lee drove him down for the game-winning touchdown, which is still weird. Then 2018, Purdue won 42-28. 2019, 31-27. That was the Aiden O'Connell game, where Aiden kind of made his presence known to Purdue fans. 2020 lost 37-27. That season's just forgettable within itself. One in Lincoln last time we played there, 28-23. And then one last year at home, 43-37.
Was it last year where we were up kind of big and they kind of made us a late – I don't think I went to the game last year. They made a late game push to kind of get it closer than what it actually really was.
Yes. I remember we wore the gold jerseys.
Yep.
It was a night game. And, they had a wide receiver go nuts last year. It was Palmer who plays in the NFL. Oh. He went nuts last year on us. So
they're a classic example of teams that can get athletes and just haven't produced. They've never really had an issue getting big time athletes. Just a matter of whether or not they can put it all together and actually get results.
Yeah, I was looking at their team. Their team struggles offensively a lot like Purdue does, especially in the red zone. But Henrik Herberg, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. He's their kind of new quarterback. He didn't start the season. Jeff Sims did, transfer from Georgia Tech, but he was a turnover machine. So Herberg's been Jeff Sims, in context, he had 1 touchdown, 4 picks for the year. And it doesn't show his fumbles here, but he had a lot of fumbles.
3 or 4. Yeah,
whereas
3 or 4 one game.
Harburg's had 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. But he's been sacked 9 times. But he does like to run the football. He is their leading rusher. 85 carries for 424 yards and 4 touchdowns, with his long being a 72-yarder. He averages 5 yards per carry. So look for them to try to take advantage of that. They also have Anthony Grant, running back. He has 70 carries for 302 yards, 3 touchdowns. Their leading wide receiver is banged up, I believe, Billy Kemp. He leads their team with 21 receptions for 216 yards, only 1 touchdown. So they have 1 receiver with 200-plus yards, and he's the only receiver over 20 receptions. Their second leading receiver is actually a tight end, Thomas Findon, the second, 15 catches for 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he must be their red zone go-to guy, having 3 touchdowns. The weakness I would say of Nebraska is probably their offensive line right now, kind of like Purdue, both banged up. But Nebraska's defensive line is very good. They are 9th in the nation in sacks and 9th against the run. So yes, so that's gonna be an interesting matchup to watch. And Purdue's got to find a way to get Deion Burks more involved. I know he leads Purdue in receptions and yards and touchdowns, which is great. I mean, his numbers right now, 27 receptions, 418 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's averaging 15 and a half yards per reception. But I still would like to see them use him more on end arounds. Heck, even put him in the backfield occasionally. Just be a little more creative getting him the ball.
Yeah.
But I was surprised looking up stats. Purdue has 3 receivers over 300 yards for the season. Rahman Yassin has 329 yards on 25 receptions. Still has not found the end zone yet.
Yeah.
Sheffield has 26 receptions for 308 yards, only 1 touchdown that game against Iowa. So, and then it drops down to Max Clare, and then Mockabee and Garrett Miller are the other 2 who have double-digit receptions. So we'll see if some other guys can get in the mix. We did see Jaden Dixon-Veal and Jaron Tibbs and Elijah Canyon get some more playing time against Ohio State. So that was a positive, I guess, of a blowout as they were able to get more guys in the mix in the rotation. And it sounded like they had a little scrimmage last week with younger guys involved.
Yeah, I remember Walter saying in his radio show, I think it was before the Ohio State game, they're asking him about, like, hey, what do you do in the bye week? He says usually we'll have, like, a scrimmage or something where, like, the guys who don't play as much, they kind of get a lot more reps that week of the bye week, just kind of get them some, number 1 reps. So that's pretty cool. It's smart. I mean, yeah, get them. I mean, what is I think I've heard Brian ever say, you don't have depth until it's proven depth or something like that. So, like, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of proven depth much of anywhere right now. So nice to get those guys some reps.
Yeah. And on the podcast I was on earlier tonight, they were asking me about offensive line struggles. I said, well, you combine injuries with the fact that 3 starters transferred out, the transfer portal, that kind of hurts.
Yeah.
A lot of teams, I think, in Purdue situation would struggle. But and go back to the kickers earlier, because now I got the roster pulled up. Julio Messias is the kicker that struggled, but Caleb Crockover was the kicker I was trying to think of, the guy who usually kicks off and made that extra point against Ohio State. So I want to make sure I did give him a shout out there.
Who hit the 3 field goals to get the lease in the car? Give him a walk.
No kidding. So go find him and suit him up. So, but the Purdue strength this season, I think we can both agree, has been the defensive line, especially the pass rush. Kydron Jenkins has 5 sacks on the season, scored and has 4.5. So between those 2 guys right there, that's 9.5 sacks. And then I was just looking at turnovers, interceptions. Thieneman has 3, Cam Allen 2, and Alessandro has 1. So as a team, we only have 6 interceptions.
So we get a few more. It sounds like, if their quarterback is a little turnover prone, hopefully we can get a few flip the field.
Yep.
I think that's kind of what this team really needs. Just with the offensive struggles, just something like that, like a defensive touchdown, or we saw Tracy take one to the house in the kickoff in the first game against Fresno State. But it needs something like that just to kind of help the offense out because they need it.
So okay, we're 7 games into the season. Yep. How do you evaluate this season so far? I know. I think I had us at 3-4 at this point in my preseason predictions, so I'm not too far off from a record standpoint. Because I had us beating Fresno and Syracuse, but I had us losing to Virginia Tech. So,
right.
How do you evaluate everything so far from what you've seen?
And it's tough. Just because of some of the offensive line issues. I'd say maybe a little bit below where I thought we might be. I didn't think the offense would struggle as much as it has, especially in the red zone, especially on the goal line. And I didn't think, I didn't know much about this defense, but I didn't think the defense would struggle like it did early on, especially against RPOs and stuff like that. Just because of the way that, Syracuse and especially Fresno State and Syracuse, especially how they just kind of just lit us up all over the field. I didn't think I would see that. I thought just from, knowing Walter's, time as defensive coordinator, I thought maybe it'd be a little more sound. But I think also it shows that, again, we've brought it up before, there's a reason why we have 8 defensive back commits in the 2024 class right now. He obviously sees areas where we need to improve, and that's the area that he's, is near and dear to his heart. So I think maybe a little below. I wouldn't expect a whole lot. kind of go into it. Obviously a bowl would be nice, but really these last four games, I mean, outside of the Michigan game, just I want to see fight improvement. This guys stay healthy, and just kind of hopefully build on it moving forward into the offseason.
Yeah, I think. I mean, of course, we all want to make a bowl. I mean, winning 4 out of the last 5 would be great, but even getting to 5 would be pretty good, and I think give you some good momentum going in. Assuming one of those 5 is retaining the bucket,
right?
Because you don't want to lose that game, not go to a bowl, and then have some bad momentum going into the off season.
If we end up with 4, but the kit. I won't feel great, but I can live with it. If I would be, if it was 5, it'd be like, hey, kind of unless we had to rattle off, 3 of the 4 winnable games, which is an improvement compared to what we thought the first 3 games, 3 or 4 games were winnable games, and we came out with 2. It's hopefully shows an improvement, but yeah, obviously 6 would be nice, but just by the way things have been going, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I'll be disappointed if we only get 1 of the last 5.
Yeah.
Of course, if we get 0 of the last 5, I'll be really disappointed.
Right.
I'll have some big time concerns actually if we go 2-10. But yeah, there's definitely opportunities there. There's definitely still a lot of football to be played, and I think all the guys, from the sounds of it, from Ryan Walters' press conference on Monday, all the guys know where we sit and what's ahead of us, so they know what's on the line. How would you evaluate Hudson Card's play so far this year? A lot of ups and downs, I feel like.
Again, like I think he's kind of, like I said, I didn't really know what to expect of him. I mean, obviously, you see that he's a Texas transfer. He was, obviously if you commit to Texas as a quarterback, like you've got to be pretty good. But then you kind of remember that he hasn't played much at all. So this is kind of his first time really playing big time football. I like the fact he hasn't really turned the ball over too much. I mean, there was the what game where he had a couple fumbles? Was it Syracuse?
Syracuse.
Yes, yep. I think that's probably the one maybe outlier game of his. I think he's been pretty solid. I know especially recently he's had some issues with holding on to the ball a little too much, especially against Iowa.
I wonder how much that was of him being banged up, not wanting to run.
Yeah, which you learn that he's been really banged up. I mean, you see the tape on his neck, that's obviously not good. You also wonder how much is he being restrained in terms of, hey, like don't run, because if you get hurt, then this whole thing goes south fast. I think he does a pretty good ball. I like that he doesn't, look at if his first read's not there, he just dumps it off to somebody. So I like the fact he does kind of go through his progression, seems to do it pretty well. We also wonder, there's obviously people complain about Harrell. You wonder how much of that is play calling too, which is again, just time will tell on that. But I've enjoyed watching him play, and I think he can get better for sure. So I think he's been pretty solid for the most part for what we need.
Yeah, he's had some some bad moments and some bad games and decisions, but I am surprised how much flack the guys caught on Knucklehead Central. Purdue's my most popular message board. I think for the most part he's been pretty solid given what he's got. So, we'll see how he plays the last five games. But right now his stats up to date are 149 completions on 246 attempts, 1,617 yards. 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. He has been sacked 17 times, and his sack yardage losses.
5 picks. I realize
2 of them were against Iowa.
Okay. Some of them have been like where they get batted, and so there's that. But I feel like it hasn't been a whole lot where he's just thrown like whoa, like what were you doing sort of thing.
I think there was a really bad one against Wisconsin.
I think that's about the only. Yeah, I think that one. Wisconsin. Kind of forget about the Wisconsin game.
Yeah, well, they all kind of run together after 20 years. But of course, defensive side of the ball, Dylan Thieneman's been a bright spot. He's been awesome to watch. He leads Purdue in tackles and interceptions. He has 62 total tackles, 45 of those solo, 17 assisted, and 3 interceptions and 1 pass deflection. He's making a good case to be a freshman All-American at this point.
Yeah, I think him, Stevens, and Wilson, which Wilson obviously is hurt now, unfortunately, and doesn't sound good. I think they've all been really, really good for the most part.
You mean Brown instead of Stevens, or
No, yeah. Sorry, the
Marcavius Brown.
Marquise Brown. Yeah, my
Yeah,
bad.
from Ole Miss.
Yeah, those two guys. Plus, I think have been pretty solid all year. Um, I think the linebacker spot's been a little bit of an issue just with containing, or the outside linebacker spots for sure with containment, and just kind of getting matched, bad matchups and getting matched up on either a good tight end or a slot guy and just getting toasted. But yeah, Thienemann's been incredible. It was kind of funny because I was a little worried. I think I said this before, but when coming to the year, I was a little worried. Like, man, he's obviously his two brothers have played, and he's the first one to actually get a scholarship out of high school. Is like, man, I hope he doesn't get buried in the depth chart with all these guys. It's like it's his spot to lose for the next 3 years.
Yeah, he's gonna be a good one. He's gonna be a good one. Got a comment on Facebook here from Thad Mooney, a loyal listener and viewer of the pod. I typed so much that the comment went off the page, so I can't read it all. But if we can get the 5 wins, take it as a successful season, Walters is addressing his issues with secondary with recruiting. Offense and defensive line recruits will come. The depth on either line was Brom's weakness with recruiting for what was left over, along with all the injuries. Young staff around there promises. There's promise there once the staff gets their team made up and roster put together. Cards banged up with a Swift's cheese offensive line. He's forced the ball or hangs on too long trying to. I'm guessing he means make a play.
Yeah,
that is one thing. Yeah, a lot of times. I like his patience in the pocket and letting plays develop, but sometimes he is waiting for that home run ball or that big play too long. And that's one thing I am a little disappointed. I thought this would be more of a big play offense. We haven't really seen it.
And then part of that just comes from we hear all offseason about the air raid, which even they said the air raid is more of a concept, not necessarily just slinging all over the place like Mike Leach used to do. Rest in peace. But you would think it could also just be maybe the personnel just isn't there yet, which is obviously possible.
Right.
Obviously we lost the FAU kid who was.
I always forget about that.
Yeah, he was. It sounded like he was going to be potentially number 1 wide receiver. So, and he was a big body guy. So you didn't wonder if that had to really change things up kind of at the last minute. But yeah, we'll see.
Yep. But should be a pretty interesting matchup in Lincoln. I think the latest line I saw was Cornhuskers favorite 2.5. It's pretty closely even match. But let's go ahead and predict a few games. Kind of a weak slate around the Big Ten this weekend. Only 5 games, starting with one at noon on CBS, and this baby could be a bloodbath. You got 2-5 Indiana at 6-1, number 10 Penn State, who's got to be pretty pissed off, you would think. Penn State, the line jumped a point since last night. It's up to 32 points for the Nittany Lions.
Things are going south for the Hoosiers in a bad way.
I think they're going to have to buy Tom Allen out.
That's a lot of money.
It is. It is.
Is a donor going to step up and do that? They paid $10 million for Archie. Even that was like, are they going to do it because it was COVID and all that? It's like, are they going to pay 10? This is 20 for a football coach.
It is, and I've heard Indiana football fans say, well, who do we expect to get? Because if we get any young offense coordinator, even though there's more money now in the Big Ten more than ever, and it should be enticing from that standpoint. If he wins, say he somehow wins 7 or 8 games in Indiana, especially when the Big Ten becomes a 18-team conference, he's got to have big jobs looking at him like crazy. So, or maybe not big jobs, but like Washington State or something that's a better football job, even though they don't have a conference. Yeah. So maybe that was a bad example. But somebody that's more of a football school than Indiana, because Indiana's always going to be a basketball school. Right. But I don't know, man. They had their fun in 2018, 19, and 2020, but it has just gone off the rails, and I don't think it's going to get any better. I hope they keep the guy for life. Don't get me wrong, but
great guy. Great guy.
Yeah. But
I think Penn State covers that.
It's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. Maryland at Northwestern. Maryland coming off a bye week, which they really needed 2 losses in a row. Northwestern, I got to give them credit. They're 3-4, and they fight harder than I thought they would this season. So I think their interim. I think their interim coach will end up getting that job. He probably should. Yeah. Maryland's a 13.5 point favorite. I do think Maryland bounces back, and I do think they cover that though.
I'm agree with you there.
Michigan State and Minnesota. Somehow Minnesota's only a 7-point favorite in this game. That's what Vegas thinks of the 4-3 Gophers. 2-5 Michigan State has given up on the year. They are atrocious. That athletic departments needs to be burnt. They can't get out of their own way. It's embarrassing. I think Minnesota wins and covers.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then a night game, NBC number 3, Ohio State, 14.5-point favorites at 5-2 Wisconsin. Camp Randall will be jumping, but I don't think the Buckeyes struggle at all in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Wisconsin covers.
Okay.
Ohio State wins, but I'm saying just Ohio State, coming off the big win against Penn State, and I've already said, Variety's not gonna make a team, not gonna overlook a team, but I'm gonna say they overlook Wisconsin a little bit coming off the big win. And it's Wisconsin, they got some dudes.
They
Luke
do have
Fickell
some dudes.
going against his former team.
I didn't even think about that wrinkle.
I don't know, a little bit of juice there. Who knows? Wisconsin coming off that, I didn't even realize they came back against Illinois last week. Can't believe they did that.
Yeah, I went out because I was watching kind of 3 games at once.
Mm-hmm.
Then my wife and I decided to go out to dinner, and I thought the game was pretty much over. And I checked the score on my phone at dinner. I'm like, oh my God, Wisconsin came back and won. Because I thought the West was going to be pure shambles. I'm like, oh my God, Minnesota's going to end up winning the West somehow. I'm going to throw up. And then, Illinois choked pretty hard in that one. So.
Yeah. Ohio State wins, Wisconsin covers.
All right, I could see that. I'll say Ohio State covers, but I won't be shocked. I'll be shocked if Wisconsin wins though. Then top 25 games. We'll just pick a couple here. Number 6, 7-0 Oklahoma at 5-2 Kansas. Oklahoma's a 9.5-point favorite.
Man, I'm tempted to pick Kansas. I mean, I know Oklahoma's really good. I'm going to say Oklahoma wins but doesn't cover.
I'll say they barely cover. They win by about 10. I think they survived their scare against UCF at home over the weekend, so winning by 2. So I think they survived their scare there. World's largest cocktail party, number 1 Georgia playing Florida. This is always played in Jacksonville, so it's a neutral site game. 7-0 Georgia and 5-2 Florida. That I'm kind of surprised is unranked. Georgia's a 14-point favorite. I think Georgia wins. I'll go right on the nose of 14.
Yeah, I would say that, I think they win by 14, 17-ish.
Number 20 Duke, 5-2 at number 18, 6-1 Louisville, coming off a bye when they really needed it because they lost to a bad Pittsburgh team in the rain. Wait a second. Yeah. A Jeff Ron team losing a week after they pulled an upset and losing in bad weather. I've never seen that before.
Unheard of. Who could have seen that coming except all of us?
Everybody. Louisville's a 4-point favorite. I do think they'll be prepared after the bye week and they will beat Duke.
Let's go Duke.
Mike Elko
pull off the upset.
Mike Elko and the boys. Good out in the Pac-12. Number 8 Oregon, 6-1 travels to Salt Lake City to play. I think that's where University of Utah is located. To play 6-1. Number 13 Utah. But Oregon's a 6.5-point favorite on the road.
I'm gonna go the Utes.
I am too. I think that's disrespectful.
Yeah.
I think they're good. I love their head coach. Did you happen to catch what he said about their quarterback after their win at USC?
No, I didn't.
He said, Caleb Williams is great and all, but our quarterback, he's tough as nails. He's a pig farmer. And then he just kept going on and on. It's like, all right, man. I love that.
Yeah, mean dudes.
Pittsburgh 2-5 at 6-2, number 14 Notre Dame, who is a 20.5-point favorite.
Yeah, Notre Dame blows
the doors off. Yeah, they roll in that one. Number 21 Tennessee 5-2 at 5-2 Kentucky. Tennessee is a 3.5-point favorite.
Man, this could get bad if they go back to back. It was back to back, and they were lost at Bama, which is really tough for them. I actually had sidebar. I had my friend who's a Tennessee fan. He sent me a tweet over before the weekend, and it was like because Heupel had to go back-to-back wins against Saban, and it was a tweet of like coaches who have gone back-to-back wins versus Saban, and he's like, I did not expect Purdue to be on this list. I'm like, couldn't beat Joey T. Go Cats! I'm pulling the Cats.
I am too, and we start hearing Tennessee fans start griping about Heupel. But they won the 2021 Music City Bowl. Just ask.
Yep. That's Klein Bomb.
The best team in Colorado, number 19, 7-0 Air Force at 3-4, should be 4-3. Colorado State. Air Force is a 12-point favorite. Give me Troy Calhoun in the triple option.
Yep.
Air Force Falcons.
I'm with you. They cover.
The wannabe best team in Colorado, 4-3 Colorado Buffs. The last time we saw them, they lost to a horrendous Stanford team in double overtime, 46-43, after being up 29-0 at half. They travel to number 23, 5-2 UCLA, who just played that Stanford team on the road and beat them 42-7. And UCLA is a 17.5-point favorite. Give me the Bruins and Chip. I hope you cover.
Yep, same. Shout out to James Madison, 25th.
25th, they're 20.5-point favorites over Old Dominion. Yeah, they'll win and cover. Why not? And then the two more here. Number 17, North Carolina, 6-1. Horrendous at-home loss to Virginia. At 3-4, Georgia Tech. Drake May's Heisman chances went up in flames.
Yeah, I think they had an outside shot at making the playoff if you win the ACC, but nope.
Nope.
I don't care
not
if you win
now.
the ACC. It's toasted.
Same thing with Louisville. Like the ACC's thinking crap. It's Florida State or nothing because Clemson's not Clemson anymore.
No.
I think North Carolina covers 11-point spread over Georgia Tech here.
I think so too.
And lastly, man, I hope this team gets a little worse before we go out to Corvallis and play them next year. Number 11, Oregon State, who's 6-1, travels to 4-3 Arizona. Oregon State's 3.5-point favorites. I think DJ and the Beavers, DJ Ukulele, I think is how you pronounce the last name. I think the Beavers cover this one.
Yeah, I do too.
How they don't have a conference home already just baffles me. And Washington State, they're not bad programs. They're occasionally good at basketball. I don't get it.
Oh, did you see? I just saw because Newbert tweeted about it. I think the Big East commissioner said that Gonzaga is the perfect fit for the Big East, just because of the fact that basketball centric. They don't have a football team and all that. Then Brian posted what it takes to drive from like the East Coast to Spokane. It was like 37 hours.
Screw it, dude. Those things are out the window. We don't care anymore. It's just. I'm not as concerned. I mean, it is what it is. The Big Ten's having 4 new teams. Life's going to get tougher for the Purdues, the Indianas, Northwesterns, the Illinois, a lot of the Big Ten, really. Yeah. And those 4 programs are going to realize, we're not the big boys in the conference anymore.
No.
But I think it'll be fine for football, travel, and everything because you get a week. But basketball, I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And other sports
right,
too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the real issues, like the non-revenue sports, is because they don't fly, private, necessarily.
No. So, lastly, before we switch gears and talk a little basketball before we hang this week's pod up, I want your spicy bold prediction before your game prediction.
Bold prediction. Thieneman gets not 1, but 2 picks. Takes one to the house.
Last time we played there, Jalen Graham had 2 picks, 1 to the house, I believe. So I like that. I'm going. I'll save that. The one I want to say for a different game. I'll keep that one in my back pocket. I'm going 2 touchdowns for Garrett Miller.
Love it.
2 touchdowns for Garrett Miller. So I like Purdue's chances if that happens, I think. So score prediction, Webby.
What's the over-under? Check. Over-under is 39.5. Okay. I'm going to go Boilers 24-21.
You took my prediction.
Did I really?
Yes, that's the exact prediction I made already once tonight, and I was going to stick with it.
I did not listen to that show.
That's all right.
We have a field goal, but it's not a game winner. It's just we need it at some point.
Well, since you did it, I'll up it by 1 field goal apiece. 27-24 Purdue. We make 2 field goals. Or maybe we miss an extra point. That's probably more realistic. We miss an extra point. But I don't know. I just think I like this matchup for Purdue coming off a bye. I just something about it I like, and I don't know. I mean, they've won 2 in a row, so they're feeling pretty good about themselves, Nebraska. But a new head coach Matt Rule. It's not Scott Frost
Mhm.
anymore, unfortunately. But I don't know, something about this. I like Purdue's chances here. All right. Well, before we get into talking about some Boilermaker basketball that's coming up with a charity exhibition this weekend, the football game is not on Peacock this week, everybody. It is on Fox Sports 1. It's a 3:30 kickoff, which is one of my favorite times for a football game, but it is a tough time to figure out, should we eat before the game? Should we eat after the game? What are we doing here? Well, if you're struggling with that, I mean, I can't really help you, but I can help you with your problem of deciding where to eat or where to get food from, and that should be Mad Mushroom. Mad Mushroom is the Boiler Breakdown is brought to you by Mad Mushroom, I should say. And they've been serving Boilermakers since 1993. They're located in the heart of West Lafayette, and they're known as the home of the original cheese sticks. But whenever Evan, myself, or Andrew go, we like to sit down, have an ice cold beer while trying out their latest pizza of the month, which we're in the last week of October, so you better take advantage of this dessert pizza. It is the pumpkin spice pizza. It's a dessert pizza featuring a sweet pumpkin spice pie mix topped with roasted mini marshmallows and finished with walnuts and powdered sugar, starting at the price of $14. So they got more than just pizza. They got grinders, they got wings. Of course, they're home of the original cheese stick, like I already mentioned. So they got plenty of good options. They also have great beer to go with that. So if you stop in, tell them the Boiler Breakdown sent you, you get $5 off any order over $20. Or if you're ordering online because you don't want to go there before the game, you don't want to go there after the game, you want to celebrate in your own house, you want to get prepared for the game in your own house, maybe you need something to eat at halftime. I don't know what the case is going to be. Use coupon code BREAK5 to claim your discount online. That's $5 off any order over $20. Madmushroom.com. Mad Mushroom, feed your head. All right, Boilermaker basketball unofficially underway this weekend. It had the fan day last weekend, which you attended. What was your synopsis from what you saw?
It was a gorgeous day, great day to be on campus. I haven't had a chance to walk around campus a little much, especially with students on. I went down to like Chauncey Hill area afterwards, kind of just walked around, visited the bookstore and all that. So it's nice to be back on this beautiful day. I did not get a chance to make it to the women's portion. I was bummed. Like it was not able to make it for 10 a.m. start. So I got there right as the men's team took the floor and were warming up. Pretty good crowd. Looked like lower bowl was, I'd say 80% full, and there's some people still sitting up in the upper bowl. But I mean, really, my big takeaway was Ethan Morton. I know if you've read anything about the day, I mean, he looked like a different player compared to what we saw last year. In 2 of the 3 games, he handled the point for his team exclusively, which was something we really haven't seen him do a whole lot. He looked confident. He was distributing the ball. I think even the first play of the game, he got a steal. He had a couple pull-up jumpers that looked really good. I was just really impressed with him. Definitely kind of looked like he could be that. We've always talked about, we need somebody to back up Braden because he can't play 35 minutes for an entire season. And we always kind of thought maybe that'd be Lance Jones, but the way Lance Jones has been playing, he may have to be starting and playing next to Braden. So if we need that second unit, I think
I read where he shot 10 threes. I doubt he does that in an actual game.
Right, yeah. Which I mean, these games are weird because it's like the stats. I mean, not shoot great from 3. That was about the one thing. That and free throws was like if I had to like go like.
I could hear everybody just cringing when you said that. So
yeah, did not shoot, but also you've got Gillis took a ton of threes. Jones took 10. He made 4 of them. 40%. I'll take it. Trey took a couple. Obviously, Fletcher took a couple. I think Braden took a couple. So he definitely took probably more. You had guys shooting more than they would in a real game scenario just because of the matchups and the lineups. I know Colvin was 0 for whatever he did. He did not have a good day. Morton looked great. Trey Kaufman-Wren looked really, really good. what I liked about him was, obviously that him and Edie played together. Edie had a nice dish where he caught the ball and the tray just kind of crashed from the top of the paint and or top of the key and beautifully. A lot of times Trey was actually matched up on Edie, and when Edie was guarding him, Trey had like his hook shot was unguardable on Edie, which is pretty cool. I mean, because we're going to face some tall guys in the Big Ten for sure. But he looked really good. Even he would catch the ball on top of the key and would drive, which we didn't really see him do that last year, which is going to be big because it's just the whole thing about if TKR and Edie play together, spacing is going to be an issue because those are both pretty post-centric guys. But I liked what I saw. What else? Yeah, Colvin really struggled. Just wasn't his day. I wasn't too worried. The only thing I really worried about was just he definitely looked like it was getting to him, the frustration. Which, I mean, he's a freshman, 18. He's young. He's 18 years old. Like, we remember playing when we were 18 years old. Like, how frustrated we would get if we weren't playing well. So
intramurals, baby.
Yeah, and he'll come along. I think he'll be fine. And again, I know it's been documented. It's tough too because he is the only scholarship freshman. So all the coaching is definitely being directed at him solely. And we heard a lot about that when Carson went through the program. I thought Braden looked awesome. Had I not known that he was a sophomore, I would have guessed he was at least a junior just by the way his presence and the way he controlled the ball. I liked there'd be a couple times where he'd get a screen and he would just, come off the screen and just pull up, right away. Like, I like that aggressiveness. Obviously, there's that fine line between aggressive and just being reckless. Didn't see him drive and kind of do crazy pass like we would see last year. So hopefully that's kind of getting out of the system. But yeah, I mean, it was just fun to see the team. And obviously, it's an inter squad scrimmage. It's a little tough to kind of gauge, like, if someone does something good, is because someone else screwed up. Fletch looked solid. His mid-range game was awesome. I think he'll take a big leap this year for sure. And Cam Heide had a super athletic dunk where he drove baseline and reverse slammed it, and it was like, he definitely was like, I was a little disappointed the crowd didn't react the way I reacted because it got me off my seat, and I yelled pretty loudly. But he had a couple moves where he would drive and just his athleticism. He was able to get a shot up over Edie, where like if it was Fletcher, like he would have stood no chance. But just because the way he's bigger and he can contort his body, he would be able to get it up. And then, like I said, I mentioned Lance Jones. I thought he looked better than I thought he would. He looked a lot more athletic than I thought he was going to. I know I texted you and Andrew that in the second game, his team was down 2. The other team shooting free throws was missed. Again, going back to my point, throws. And he got it. And I swear there was like 3 seconds left, and he drove the length of the court. Which, granted, no one really tried to stop him. Which again, I'm like, it's a scrimmage. I was a little more of the defense at that point. So I was like, why didn't if that happened in a real game, I'd be so mad because he had no trouble getting to but the fact that he got essentially 3/4 court in less than 3 seconds. He missed the layup, but it was a pretty tough layup, and he was going full speed. But I was like, oh, I did not expect him to be that athletic. But it's just also funny to see him next to like Braden or Fletcher because he's just so much bigger. Like, his arms are huge, like, which is nice because we'll need that physicality on defense, especially I think of a guy like Xavier Johnson. Going up against him, like, he's a big guard who's 24 years old.
I was gonna say he's also 100.
Yeah. But going to men, like, versus like, last year, that was probably Ethan Morton doing something like that, where I think now with Lance Jones, like, that'll be a huge help. And then, like, I just did a really good job when the ball was down low. He was picking and choosing spots, like, and if he can hit mid-30s from 3, like, that'll be so big for him because obviously everything's going to collapse on Edie. But overall, it was fun to see. The assistants were running the show. Painter just kind of sat off to the side, signing autographs, kind of just overviewing, seeing everything. But it was PJ and Sasha were the 2 like kind of most vocal coaches on either side, so that was cool to see.
Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah, they do a charity scrimmage. These are kind of weird. I mean, they're great because they go to charity, but it's kind of weird how we went from the secret scrimmages and now there's televised scrimmages. Yeah, you can buy tickets to them, and it's going to be televised on SEC Plus down in Fayetteville. The boys travel to Fayetteville to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks, who have been a strong program the last couple of years with the Must Bus leading the charge down there. So it's gonna be a good test for Purdue. I'm not worried if they win or lose. I fully expect a panic meltdown from the message boards if Purdue loses. I just want to get out healthy. That is the main spot. I don't want to
learn something. I mean, they're at, if anything, under Muss, they're just athletic freaks down
Yep.
there. Like,
Yep.
kind of been the newer trend for SEC basketball. They're just teams that just positionless have a bunch of dudes that are 6'6" to 6'8" and just can gym. And he's a good coach. I mean, he's gotten to the Elite Eight. He's gotten far in the tournament the last couple of years. But yeah, I'm not really too worried. Obviously, I hope Purdue wins. As long as they don't get like blown out, I'm okay. But yeah, fully expecting a meltdown. Either like if we win going away, it's going to be like temper the expectation if they get blown out. Like, did you hear about like FAU apparently got their doors blown off North Carolina?
Which I do think, and I know there's some people. I think Jeff Goodman said, Dusty may still getting disrespect. I'm like, they're ranked 10th, and I still think their run last year was a fluke. So
yeah.
I
think I would not be surprised. I think they're obviously good. I could not it was actually that game made me think of it. I was like, I wonder if they're going to follow suit with North Carolina, what they did, where they kind of made to that Final Four run as an 8 or 9 seed. That's what North Carolina did.
Mm-hmm.
And then start the next year, the top 10, North Carolina was number 1 last year, and then just fall off the map.
Well, yeah, all of a sudden there's eyes on these guys.
Right,
down
yeah.
there in Boca Raton. I mean, they weren't talked about at all last year. I mean, okay, your diehard college basketball fans knew who they were, following them during the year, knew they were going to be a tough out in the NCAA tournament, but nobody thought they were a legit Final Four contender. Get out of here, and a shot away from being in the national championship. So.
Yeah. I mean, they played a pretty good schedule. Obviously, they play Illinois, so they'll get some better quality wins, but yeah, we'll see. I'm not sold yet.
Yeah, so it's just crazy to think the first game against Samford is less than 2 weeks away, 2 weeks from last night. Insane. And then the first big game, so to speak, is less than 3 weeks away against Xavier at home, and then it's the Maui. So it's just thrown right in the fire right away. So, but that makes it exciting as a fan. Yep. So it makes it exciting. But yeah, our podcast will get even longer soon, everybody. So got that to look forward to.
I guess we'll kind of have our preview next week, I guess.
I'm going to try to fit it in sometime next week. Yeah. So they're going to make it a real long episode or 2 episodes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So anything else, Bubby, before we put a wrap on this one?
No, it's nice to have football back this weekend. I said I kind of texted you guys last Saturday. I kind of forgot that college football existed.
I like the bye because there's no stress, Yeah. But then I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's what I know. I love my team when I'm bored, even though we're 2-5, and I'm like, man, I wish Purdue was playing today.
Right? Yeah.
Even though my heart's like, I'm glad.
Which is why I went to fan days. I was like, there's no game. I gotta do something.
Right. So but that's when I know I'm a sicko. When I'm yeah. And actually, I was looking forward to just sitting on the couch and watching college football last week, and which I did for a good part of the day at least. So. Because don't get to do that very often. That's one thing about. I mean, I love going to Ross State. Don't get me wrong, but I do like watching game day and some of the pregame shows, and don't get to do that too often if you're going to Ross State. So, but we'll definitely all next week get our fill of college football if that's what you want to do before the Michigan game, because that's 7:30 NBC.
Yeah.
3:30 Fox Sports 1 this week, 7:30 NBC. So 2 weeks in a row non the Peacock. So celebrate accordingly. So, one last thing, Webby, I got these icons up here of our sponsors of the podcast. We already did the Mad Mush read. This other one is for the shop.
Yes, the shop. The board breakdown is brought to you by the shop. The shop has been bringing sports and hometown apparel to the fans since 2011. From their humble beginnings in garages and basements, you can find them at their 2 retail stores and online. Comfortable shirts. It makes everybody happy. Tanner's got one on right now.
Oh, I wear this shirt all the time. So comfortable.
The shop's located in Carmel and Indy, as well as online at theshopindy.com. They make the best shirts, period. And next time you're shopping online, Christmas is right around the corner. It's crazy.
Literally 2 months from tomorrow.
Oh, boy. Use promo code BREAKDOwn. If you're like me, you need extra help this holiday season, use promo code BREAKDOwn for 25% off your order.
Help Santa Claus out this year. Be nice. Yes. Be nice up there. And if you're they got other shirts besides Purdue. We've mentioned all the colleges, but basketball season started. NBA season started tonight. I don't know what the score is of the Nuggets-Laker game, but I hope the Nuggets are smacking them around for multiple reasons. But they got some really cool new Pacers shirts they released. So the shop does.
9 to go in the third.
Beautiful. Yeah, the shop has some new Pacers gear they released that's really sharp looking, which that's one thing. The Pacers have some of the best design throwback gear.
Yes.
Multiple throwback jerseys that are really, really cool. So,
Yes.
yep.
I'd agree.
All right, Webby. Well, that said, get yourself some Boiler merch off the shop. Get yourself some pizza, cheese sticks, wings, grinders, beer from Mad Mush. Let's get a Boiler win. Let's boiler up, hammer down, and beat the Cornhuskers.
Boiler up.